The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers to get yourself sweet perks such as uncut early access to the episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/theformedgamers and consider lending support and joining the herd. Without further ado, let's hop into the show.
Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 193 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, and dread. I'm your Metroid host, Logan.
And I am his co-host, Adam.
Adam, I'm going to jump the gun a little bit here in the intro, but how amazing is it that Nintendo just surprised everybody and dropped a new Metroid game that's coming out in October in their E3 Direct?
What I love about it, it's a new Metroid game that was announced 19 years ago or something like that.
It was supposed to come out 19 years ago, but they couldn't. Did you watch the developer history on it?
I didn't. I was listening to a couple podcasts over the last couple of days, and they were talking about how like it was linked to be like a DS game at some point, and like 2007 or something like that, and then for whatever reason, it just never happened. And so like they're just gonna skip Metroid Prime 4 and just go straight into this one, which is great. We'll get a little bit deeper into that probably later. But it was. I was a little late. We had a meeting going into Nintendo's, and I'm like, guys, we got to get off this meeting because I have got a stream.
It
is lunchtime.
There's something more important than this right now.
Well, that meeting for sure. There was definitely. I mean, the meeting was basically over. And well, the thing is, it was over, and they were lingering. And I didn't want to be rude, and I wanted to get out of my office.
Right.
But so I was like, I missed the Smash reveal, which I didn't care. And so, like, as I'm coming in, they were doing the Metroid stuff, and I'm like, dang,
so good.
It was quite the way to enter the stream late.
I'm going to be honest. I've watched that trailer several times already. I'm not going to lie. By the time that this episode hits public feeds, I will probably have watched it more times, to be honest.
It's big time.
It's a big time. It's a good time to be a gamer. Good time to be alive. But that being said, dear listeners, in case you hadn't noticed by the title of the episode, I'm going to gush a lot about Metroid and Nintendo and kind of how they blew my mind at E3. But we're going to be doing our annual E3 roundup episode, this episode here. So hopefully you responded to the thing I posted on Twitter, and we'll include some of your responses here on the episode. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Before we get into the show itself, a little bit of housekeeping. Micah knocking it out like a champ, like Iron Man or the steam engine or whatever you want to call him. He's more machine than man. He knocked out a ton of roundup highlight articles that are up on the website covering Summer Game Fest, Xbox, Nintendo. I want to say he put another one up, but it might just be those three. So if you missed any of those things from E3, go over to the website, thereformedgamers.com. They'll be up at the very top of the page in the little carousel promo thing that we have, and you can read those and check those out and see if there's anything that you missed. Some of those we'll honestly revisit here in this episode, but in case you maybe are listening to this podcast while you're working and you missed something, just go to the website and get caught up. Summer Game Fest has one in there specifically that I will gush about a little bit later on that just, oh my goodness, dude. What a time to be a gamer, man. It's a good time. It's a good time. But like I said, we'll get to that a little bit later on in the episode. I do want to mention something else that I did not put in the housekeeping thing in here. I forgot to do that. I am back on Twitch. That's right. I am back on Twitch, streaming Friday mornings, twitch.tv/theologan. Come on out, hang out. We'll be talking about Metroid, gaming news, theology, sharing some of the things that I've learned as a pastor, and also sharing some things that should help you if you are in ministry and interviewing for a job. Pro tip, don't bring up Calvinism. I'm kind of joking when I say that, but at the same time, just realize it's a bit of a powder keg. But we'll get into that on the stream. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the show. Welcome to the Reformed Gamers. I'd like to start off the show like we always do with a little bit of what have we been playing. Adam, man, what have we been playing, dude? We missed last week. There's a lot of things going on. What are you doing, man?
I've been missing a while. I'm trying to even remember the last time I was on the show.
Oh, that's right. You weren't on
you did one with Jedi.
With Reformed Jedi, yeah.
And so I think...
Has it been a month?
It is. I think I haven't even got to talk about beating Returnal.
Oh my gosh.
Since we last recorded. So yeah.
Get into it, dude.
I beat Returnal, and hot dang, what a game.
Is that a good hot dang what a game, or is that a bad hot dang?
Me, you, and Mike had our little messenger chat talking about it, and
yeah, that we did.
After I had beat it, because I mean, I was binging that game. Like, I was playing like we were in seminary trying to play zombies again. Like, I would start at about 11 o'clock, sometimes midnight. And I was playing till 3:30. And like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I've got to get up in 4 hours for work. But this game had its hooks in me.
Yeah.
And because of just how the game's made, without being able to save and different things like that, I felt like I had to. But I was also just cruising, I think the last 3 biomes, I probably only died 2 or 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Like, you just get the right gun, you get cruising, and I was so nervous. Like, I would play I was an aggressive player for sure. Like, I was slashing the enemies. Like, I would get up and close, but as I was learning a level, I had the gun where you could like just shoot these. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It's been a while since we've talked about it. But basically, it would shock the enemies. And so you could like enter the room, shoot them a bunch of times, and like leave the room so they couldn't get to you.
Yeah,
so I was like cheating the game.
That's the electro pylon, right?
Yes, that was my gun. Like, I went
a good
through
one.
The last world and a half with that thing, and I had it maxed out. It was awesome. But so I just kept going, and I got to the last biome, and I'm like, I'm just going to go until I die, I figured,
Right.
But then I kept going, and I had a, you get the right build. So I had one where it's like, I had paid the ether where if I die, I would go back to that part of the level. I had one of the parasites where if you die, you could survive a lethal blow.
Nice.
So I had like 2 or 3 things built into where even if I died, I wasn't done.
Right.
But I was still playing pretty cautious.
Yeah, because you don't want to risk it. Like, you don't want to play too reckless when you have that stuff.
Well, and then I had a parasite where it only cost me 2 resin to upgrade my health.
Oh,
and I had that for like 2 biomes. So I mean, I was maxed out just across the board and ended up beating the boss on the first try. Now I would look up YouTube videos just because I'm like,
right.
I've invested all this time. I want to give myself the best chance.
Right.
It's not even guaranteed. But I'm like, I want to give myself the best chance to beat this boss. And so I beat it, and I'm like, man, this game, it was so good. I almost like, I didn't know what to do after. Like, I didn't, like, thankfully you hooked me up with a copy of Legendary Mass Effect. So I played around with that, but I was like, I was at such a gaming high. I'm like, I got good. Like, this game. So briefly, so we'll talk a little bit more of like Souls types as you want to talk about Elden Ring, I'm sure. But like those games, I'm just like, I played Bloodborne. It's fun, but it's a level of difficulty and style that I'm not good. Like, I don't have to learn how to parry or like dodge all up close, but I
love that.
You give me a game like Returnal where I can just dodge, I can play aggressive. That's the biggest key for me. Like a Doom Eternal and stuff. Like, I don't want to play stealth. I want to go in guns blazing, and I want to be aggressive. In Returnal, that's helpful when you do that in Returnal. It's beneficial to you for the most part to be aggressive and to be on the attack and not, just running away the whole time. And so that game really just fit my play style really good. And so our kids' pastor's got the game now, and I keep talking to him about it. I'm not going to go back and play it because I just don't do that. But man, that game was so much fun, and I was laughing. Like, there's so many things like I still didn't even know about the game after beating it. Like, I didn't know that you could buy the astronaut doll, and that was basically an extra life.
Yeah.
I
I
just was
found
like,
that out pretty early on, and I bought that thing whenever I had the chance.
yeah, I saw it all the time. I'm like, what? Like, why would I buy this? Is it just like a collectible to get the platinum? Like, what is the purpose of this? And so I never bought it. So you just learn things like that as you play the game. But Returnal, man, what a great game! Probably my game of the year at this point. But I haven't
Hot
played.
dang.
I haven't played Ratchet yet. So,
Yeah.
um, but the
Yeah.
other game I've been playing, and I've been playing it more, and it's funny we talked about this. So I jumped into Mass Effect 3. I've played 1 and 2, but I've never played 3.
Mm-hmm.
So once you hook me up with that Legendary Edition, I'm like, let's get into it. And so it took me a minute to get into it. I texted you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember
probably,
you texted me saying like, "Oh boy, this is rough."
I was like 2 hours in. I'm like, the controls, the weapon wheel, the powers. I'm like, this is just dated. Like, struggling, but I think I just need to get through the prologue and like get into the game where the story was, a lot more fleshed out. I had a lot more options on missions. I
Mm-hmm.
had to kind of re-get my groove with how to get around the galaxy and stuff like that. But I got to be probably 10 hours or so at least into it.
Okay, you're a good
And
ways in then.
yeah, and 5 of that, like I was telling you in text. So I jumped into a DLC mission and I didn't know it. I wish I would have known because it didn't make sense. Well, the thing is, I'm assuming this DLC came out after the original game was finished, but the way that they were talking throughout the whole mission was like it was legit for the part of the story I was in. But I don't think it actually works that way. I don't know. We'll see. So it was a really good, DLC, but it kind of felt like I invested 5 hours that I didn't have to invest in the
Yeah.
game at that point in the game. So, again, it was good. I just probably wouldn't have done it if I would have known I was stepping into a 5 hour DLC. But really enjoying the game. I'm not gonna exactly just main story it for the rest of the way out, but probably because of that DLC, I'll probably do just kind of stick to the main story for a bit and then
Yeah.
do some side stuff a little bit later in the game. But really enjoying my time now. I told myself I'm gonna finish it before I start Ratchet and Clank, so that'll allow me to get Ratchet and Clank at a bigger discount by not buying it yet. And RIP to my television, TCL 55-inch. Pour one out for me, guys, at the F key. Like, of course, like not even the day, the morning that we were leaving for our vacation to Boston, I turn on our TV and it's like got a line through it and half of our TV is like dark and it's like slowly like getting darker and darker. It's like Moana, how the island is like being destroyed.
Oh yeah.
But that's like my television. It's slowly eating across my screen. And so of course, like we're gearing up, like loading up our car, and all I can think about is, oh, I gotta buy a new TV now, and just kind of threw me off right before vacation. But so I'm exploring that. I'd like to get a nice TV that has like the 120 refresh rate and so on, but those are just so expensive. I don't think I'm going to be able to bite that bullet. So I might even just get the same TV that I already had because it's a good TV. But so yeah, I said I'm definitely not going to be playing Ratchet till I get a new TV because I want that on. I've got some other TVs that are good enough, but they're not even 4K. So I definitely want to play it with as best graphics as I can. So, but I am eager to play it because people are talking a lot of good about that game.
Yep. Speaking of, Adam, you can live vicariously through me because
yes,
I have played Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I actually beat it a couple hours ago before we got on for this recording. And dude, yeah, I'll tell you, play this thing in 4K. It is, when I heard people talking about this game and saying it really shows off the power of the PS5 and, visually and in terms of like the speed and how the game runs, I was like, I'm sure the game is good, but I've seen trailers. It can't be that good. And then I booted it up and was playing it and going through the opening sections. And I'm like, this game, oh my goodness. It's, how, for example, pre-COVID, how when we would go to the movie theater and see the new latest Marvel movie and you'd have this like anticipation rising as you're going through the opening sections of the movie, and you feel the hype bubbling up in you, and you're getting all excited, and the sounds are coming in. You feel the bass from the speakers, and you just get excited the more that you're sitting there and watching the stuff unfold before you. That is literally what it feels like during the opening sections of this game. I was not expecting to feel the level of thrills that I felt playing this opening section of the game. And I'll say this, it never stopped throughout the game. The whole game is just one big summer blockbuster as a video game that is, it's a blast. Literally, it's a blast from beginning to end, and it has these moments with the characters where you feel for them and you relate to them, and then you want to weep with them, and you're cheering with them, and you're like, yeah, punch the bad guy, let's do this. And it's just, it's amazing. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, I wasn't the biggest fan of Ratchet and Clank from 2016, but this one, I'm just saying, I'm going to go ahead and take this game and put it up there for Game of the Year consideration for me. It's up there with Monster Hunter Rise for me. I was not expecting to enjoy this game as much as I did, but man, like, the humor was on point. And dear listeners, when you pick the game up, when you go to the different you go to the different planets and you're around the different characters, hang out for a little bit and listen to them talk, because some of their dialogue is pretty hilarious. And it just, every world feels different. Every world feels like it has its own character in and of itself, so to speak. It has its own gameplay mechanics and things like that. There's times where the game switches from a game where you're running and gunning through things, and then the next minute you're trying to sneak around on this abandoned spaceship because you're being hunted by some giant alien, and then it switches to like Panzer Dragoon, where you're flying through the sky and shooting at ships. I was not expecting this game to be as good as it is.
Excited.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I played, so Adam, this is good for you to know. When you boot the game up, you have 3 different modes to pick through. You have your performance, you have your resolution, and then you have a performance with ray tracing, I think it is. And I played with performance ray tracing. Game was gorgeous. So I don't
understand why somebody wouldn't choose that option.
I don't either.
That seems like the logical choice.
Yeah.
And you're getting the performance, you're getting the frames per second, but you're also getting the good visuals with ray tracing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know the differences between that and the graphics version. I hadn't checked, and I personally don't really care to, because I just really enjoyed the performance with the ray tracing. But yeah, I'm going to be honest. Someone asked me in another Discord server, is this game worth $70? And I'm going to be like, absolutely. Like, here's the thing. Let me spin it to you all like this. Some of my achievement hunters and completionists will understand this. I have not hunted platinum trophies in months. Just don't have the desire to at all. This game, however, might bring me back into it, because I love playing it. I didn't even get into the weapons. The weapons are hilarious. There's a sprinkler that like turns people into like the, how like people do the like sculpted tree sort of things.
Yeah,
it turns
like
them into
bush gun or something. Like
yeah,
that.
it's hilarious. And then there's another one that what does it do? It has like these little robot minions run around and chase after the guys for you. I found myself by the end of the game literally rotating and cycling through all of my weapons during the fights and getting strategic with some of them and doing different things, because I feel like I don't think there's one weapon in that arsenal that I didn't like. I think I like pretty much all of them. I can't think of any. I didn't really care for the shotgun, but I think that's probably because I didn't upgrade it enough to where I could have been using it effectively. But anyway, so yeah, all that to say, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, amazing game. If you have a PS5, go play it, because hot dog. Like I said, I was not expecting that game to be as good as it is. And but yeah. Oh, and Rivet, the new character, she's great. Love her. Hilarious. Love her attitude. But yeah.
That's sweet.
So yeah, Adam, when you get it, man, I can't wait. We're gonna do an episode on it.
No doubt.
Okay, I thought I lost you. I was like, crap, you didn't respond. Maybe we won't do an episode. But no. Anyway, so I'll hurry up so we can kind of continue on with the show. But, after the Summer Game Fest and I saw Elden Ring and watched the trailer for Elden Ring probably 20 times, I was feeling, I was like, I want to play some Dark Souls, that's what I want to play. And I was sitting there going, they kind of had some acrobatics going on in that trailer. And I never did finish Sekiro. I'm going to play Sekiro. And so I booted that back up. I actually picked it up for my Xbox, so I had so I could play it over there, kind of start fresh. And it's funny at how, because y'all know, if y'all watched me streaming on Twitch this game last year, I struggled with it. I could not get the guarding down. I could not get the parrying down. It was a mess. I could not get through it. I booted it up on Xbox, started playing it, and I don't know if it's because I've got the power of Xbox flowing through me, or I've just gotten better as a gamer.
I hear Xbox games are easier in general.
There you go.
Even if it's the same game, I don't know. I feel like they just need that edge.
That's what it is. Just makes games easier for you. It gives me the baby mode. But no, I was like, I just got into a groove where the parrying, I got it locked down. I got the timing down. I got back to one of the first bosses that was giving me such a hard time, and I beat him in 5 attempts. And I'm like, okay, maybe your boy's back. Maybe I'm back. Maybe I can handle this. And so, needless to say, I'm having a blast in Sekiro. I can't wait to get back to the Lady Butterfly fight, because that is easily one of the coolest fights in video games. And I'm curious how I do now with my newfound skill and reflexes. But yeah, I'll be enjoying that on Xbox as well. So yeah. But with that being said, let's switch gears here and go over to what have we been reading. Adam, man, what you been getting into as far as books?
Yeah, so we were on vacation. It's funny. So we went to vacation to Boston last week, and it was me and my wife, and then our 2 kids in one hotel room. And so, if you're a parent with kids, you're already laughing probably at what that means with that. So, I told my wife I took a book with me, and I'm like, I have no idea why I brought this book, Visions of Grandeur, just no idea what I was thinking, because there was not a chance I was going to be doing any reading with 2 kids in a hotel room with us. And so every night was we'd lay them down, I don't know, maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock. And it's they fall asleep, and it's don't move. Do not wake them up. The TV's turned low. And so I took my Switch, I took a book, and I didn't touch either of them all week. So I haven't been doing a ton of reading over the last week or so, but something I did read. So because I did the virtual cross conference last year, I don't know if you're familiar with the cross conference. It's for college students, but it's Platt, Piper, Kevin DeYoung. They do a big missions conference in January every year, and so we live streamed it and hosted it at our church last year. But because I host it, they keep sending me books, which is awesome.
Nice.
So I think they've sent me 4 or 5 books at this point. But one of the books they sent me for summer reading it's a really, really, really short book. It's maybe 70 pages by Ligon Duncan. It's called When Pain is Real and God Seems Silent. It's basically I don't know if it's verbatim, but they essentially typed up 2 of his sermons on Psalm 88 and Psalm 89 and put them in a book format. And it was excellent stuff. I read 88 before I went on vacation, the 89 when I got back. And it was really good, because if you read Psalm 89, the first, I think it's 33 verses. I was looking at it some yesterday morning. If you look at Psalm 89, as you start to read it, through the first 33 verses, you begin to think that it's a psalm of praise. The author's talking about the character of God, his steadfast love, his faithfulness, all these characteristics of God. And so you read, I'm like, even as I was reading it in this chapter, I was this is an interesting chapter for this book. But then verse 33 hits, and it takes a whole new turn. Throughout the book, chapter 89, you're kind of reading all these different things. Let me see if I can point out a couple of these verses. So it starts off with, I will sing the steadfast love of the Lord forever. My mouth will make known his great faithfulness to all generations. I will say the steadfast love will be built up forever. So he goes on like this for a long time. And then it gets to verse 38. And it says, but now you have cast off and rejected. You are full of wrath against your anointed. You have renounced the covenant with your service. You have defiled his crown of dust. You have breached his walls. You have laid his stronghold. So he kind of just goes through this like section of where, you have cut short the days of his youth. You have covered him with shame. How long, O Lord, will you hide yourself forever? And you're like, what just happened? Like there was all of this praise and recognition of who God is and his character. And then all of a sudden it turns. And what I really loved, a note that Logan made in the book was, if we were writing this book, I don't think I could have made it 37 verses without complaining to God. I would have maybe, I think of my prayers, I think of my life. I'll praise God. I've somebody at one point in my life encouraged me or I picked it up. I rarely will I start a prayer without some sort of praise and thanksgiving. I've kind of made it a point in my life that I'm not going to ask God for something before I've praised him for things that he's given me. It's just,
that's good.
Even when it almost feels out of context, I can't help it. I'm going to praise God for something or how he's working in my life, yada, yada, yada. And so I'll say a couple phrases, but I'm not going to say probably 37 verses before I get to, okay, God, but I need this. And so that's what we see in this book is this author. And so he fleshes out a lot of different things from this chapter, but he reminds us that even in the midst of our pain, even in the midst of our suffering, there is always a reason for praise. Because it's not on our circumstances, it's on his character. We've all probably heard that before. God gets glory for our lives. We're meant to worship him, to serve him, to praise him, not because of our circumstances, but because of who he is. And so he really made that point really clear throughout that chapter of his book. And so I was really encouraged by it. Again, I was checking it out on Amazon. It's like $8 physical and Kindle for this really short book. So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, again, it's a good book, but as the king of thrift, I'm like, I'm paying like 10 cents a page or something like that. It just doesn't seem right for me. But it's a really, really good book, and I was really encouraged by it. And so maybe, if you can find a copy somewhere on the cheap, it's definitely worth a good read. But I was really encouraged reading it because, again, the title of the book, When Pain is Real and God Seems Silent, we have all gone through those times in our lives. Some of us maybe are going through that now, and we need reminders. Well, how can I praise the Lord? How can I trust him when I'm hurting and it doesn't seem like he's listening? How do I do that? Well, this book is helpful in just reminding us of some things. So some of you might want to check that out.
I definitely might check that out, given the way that my week is gone.
I thought when I wrote it down, I'm like, this might be something Logan wants to check out.
Yeah, yeah. I know that probably. Well, I'll just get into it here because this kind of goes into what I've been reading. And for those that are in the Discord, you kind of already know my situation. In case you don't, I'll just give you the very brief Reader's Digest version of it. I was in the process of transitioning to a new church to be their youth and college pastor, and things just came up to where it just didn't work out. Some of the folks listened to the podcast and were like, wait a minute, is he a Calvinist? And that started a bit of a conundrum, a bit of a confrontation amongst some of the parents, and it just became very apparent that that's not a situation that I need to take my wife into, that I need to take myself into, because that might hurt us to where we just don't do ministry at all, given the circumstances. And so kind of as I was thinking of that, I'm like, God, what is it you're doing? Because I was, we had prayed about this. I was certain this is where we were going. My psychic mother-in-law, who has these visions, said something about, she had a dream about us living near water or something. And I'm like, what's that about? And so, I was pretty confident in that, and this happened. I'm just like, God, what are you doing? What? Why? 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 But God works in mysterious ways. And I'm going to be honest, I wound up, I don't know how I wound up in Psalm 118, but I wound up in Psalm 118, specifically in verse 24, where it says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." And I'm like, God, how am I supposed to rejoice when this fell through? How am I supposed to rejoice in that? Like, I know that you made this day. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You made this day. Okay. So that's reminding me that you're powerful. You created this day that I get to enjoy. When I take stock of kind of what I'm doing in the day and take stock of the whole situation, and I think about it, it's like, it's a good thing we didn't put our house on the market yet, because we get to keep our house, so we're not homeless. That's a bonus. That's positive,
Always a bonus, even though the housing market is pretty baller right now.
I know. But,
if you're selling, I guess.
Right. We're not, I'm not going to a church where they're going to try and run me out because I'm generally reformed. It's kind of an ongoing joke here on the podcast that we're generally reformed. But I was sitting there kind of going through some of the things and just kind of considering it. And it's funny because, that night, Monday night, when I found out all this stuff, and I was kind of dealing with feelings of, just failure and all sorts of other things, the local school here contacted me and said, "Hey, tech education teaching position just opened up. It's yours if you want it." And I'm like, excuse me? And as I sat there and prayed about it and was thinking about it, I was like, I don't know if I like this, but at the same time, I can't sit here and ask for God to open a door for me, and then when he opens the door and makes it obvious, I sit there and complain about it. That doesn't make sense. And my wife's like, "Yeah, you'd be a brat if you did that." I'm like, okay, fair enough. My wife over here keeping me humble. That's what I love about her. But I was sitting there kind of going back to that verse, and I'm like, and I've noticed that since Monday, each day has been getting a little bit better, to where I'm like, this is a day that God has made. I can rejoice over a couple of these other things. And as I kind of think about just, how when the whole Calvinism thing came up, and just, just being transparent, some people were being kind of ugly about it. I'd never, we'd always heard people who come into the Facebook group or Discord and say, how they've had a family member or someone just be really mean to them about how they believe in Calvinism and just be really rude about it. And, I've always heard about that. I've never experienced it myself until recently. And I kind of understand it. But like, when I sit here and read Psalm 118, I go up into the verse 6 says, "The Lord is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do to me?" Nothing. They can't do anything to me. What's the worst thing they can say? Something mean? That's not going to hurt me. God's got my back. "The Lord is on my side as my helper. I shall look in triumph on those who hate me." All of us in Christ, we can look on our enemies, those of us that are mean to us, in triumph, because we know who's got our back. We know who's winning. We can look at our culture and sit here and be like, "Oh, it looks like the culture's winning." No, they're not. God, we know how this all pans out. And we know, because it goes into verse 8, "It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes." We don't put our faith in the president. We don't put our faith in the government. We don't put our faith in people, things, any of that stuff. We as Christians, we put our faith in the God who created today, who holds that in his hand and sustains it, and in so doing provides us with blessings both big and small, that when we take the moment to remember the fact that God is the one that made today and is the one that's giving us these blessings, big and small, we can rejoice in the day. And that's something that I learned in the span of 4 days, real quickly. But man, it's something, dude. God works in mysterious ways, and man, it's one of those things where when life hits you hard, God's there holding you. It's God's there to pick you back up, and it just, Psalm 118 was just a great source of comfort and strength for me this last week, man. And I tell you what, when you remember that stuff, ooh, doggy, you can face a lot of things, including if E3 was bad. But thankfully, E3 was great. So that's my segue into that there, guys. Before we get into that section of the show here with the topic, just a quick reminder to rate and review the show on your podcast app of choice: iTunes, Downcast, Google, whatever it is you're using. Leave us a rating and review and tell people why you love the show over there. But yeah, guys, E3 has come and gone. A lot of surprises, a lot of delights, especially for me being a Metroid fan. But at the same time, there was some moments where it was both disappointing, weird, and a little cringy at times. But we're going to spend some time for the rest of the episode just kind of revisiting some of the highlights and sharing our thoughts on this year's E3. Adam, I don't know, we didn't discuss this pre-show, so this is just off the cuff, but do we want to mention anything from Summer Game Fest? I know I'm going to bring up Elden Ring, but I can't really remember.
I think it's all fair game, really, because basically, if it was in the last week and a half, I consider it E3, whether it was technically a part of it or not. Like, even what happened today with the Xbox in-depth showcase, I think that's fair game even.
Yeah. Fair enough, man. Well, Adam, kick us off, man. You're kind of our resident news guy, E3 guy here on the show. So, how are we going to discuss E3 for the listeners here? And
yeah, I think we can.
Sorry, quick thing to put out. Dear listeners, if we miss anything, if there's a game you wanted us to talk about, hit us up on our socials, and we'll talk about it over there. Especially Twitter, we're hopping over there, man. Love the interaction over there. But Adam, continue.
Yeah, I think I don't really want to just sit here and go through each conference.
Right, because that'd be a little boring.
Yeah, but I think we can just kind of start off with, I think we can just go back and forth with some things that really were maybe top moments or things that stuck out to us, because there are definitely some things that I didn't catch all of it. I caught bits and pieces of Square Enix, bits and pieces of, bits and pieces of that wasn't intense. I wasn't meant to do that at Square Enix. That's like a lot of shade. I just started like yawning as I even talked about their conference.
To be fair, it kind of fits.
Yeah, that was not meant to be, but it works. Caught a little bit of Ubisoft, but I mean, watched all of Microsoft, watched all of Nintendo, caught some of the other big announcements and whatnot. But yeah, I guess I'll just start here with. Nintendo and Xbox both had really amazing showings.
Yeah, they did.
I think, you listen to a lot of other like people in the industry, and they're like, "Oh, this new E3." Yada. For all of us normal people, it might as well have been same old, same old. Like, this was not really anything new to us, because 95% of us probably aren't going. I know some of our community's gone to E3 in the past, but most of us, this is what we do every year for E3. We just get online, we watch them, and we get hype and we talk about them. So it didn't feel like a lot of new to me. Like, I didn't watch some of the smaller ones like Koch Media or some of the other ones that were just like really bad. I'm just not going to watch those. But for the big dogs, I thought that, especially Microsoft and Nintendo, again, Square Enix, Ubisoft, they had a couple of good things, but not just like, oh, they did really good. But Xbox and Nintendo, I think, were both great for their different reasons. So I'll just start with Xbox, and then I'll let you kind of jump in, then we can talk about Nintendo maybe.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, I'm a PlayStation guy. I have an Xbox. I have a PlayStation. There was no PlayStation 1, so no reason to get excited there. But Xbox had just a really, A+ level showcase. If you are a Game Pass subscriber, there's no reason to not just be to the moon with hype. Yeah. 27 of the 30 games they mentioned are day one on Game Pass.
It's insane. I still remember seeing that, like thinking through that, and then seeing it at the end. I'm like, I was like, what? Game Pass, dude. I can't believe we live in the timeline that has that. Yes, that is a Loki reference, but just saying.
And I ain't got time to play any of them. That's the hardest. That's the biggest heartbreaking thing. Is
that's a lot for being an adult.
Why don't I? Where was Game Pass when I was in college? If I was in college, I'd be living my best life. High school,
You would have played every
just
game on Game Pass.
like I wish I played games like I do. Like I wish I liked the games that I like now, and was in the kind of like in depth. Like we're big time gamers here. I mean, we pay attention to all the news in ways that I didn't really do growing up. I'm way more into the like gaming, just entertainment industry in different ways than I was growing up. So if I like wish I played the games and had the interest I have now, even then, even though I've played games my whole life, because man, I could do some damage. But I'm like, there's just so many games that I'd love to play that are super interesting. Again, I'll probably get to a handful of them, but they did what. Now I still wouldn't say that the Xbox showcase was like Sony 2015 level, um, because while the Xbox showcase was excellent, a lot of really good games, different games. Sony is very much your third person action adventure, whatever you want to call it. That's their wheelhouse, and that's probably my favorite type of game. And when you think of Spider-Man, Horizon, God of War, Last of Us, there still feels like that is another level that Microsoft still hasn't quite got to. Like Halo's not on that level, and if you think they are, I'm sorry. No matter,
Okay, okay,
they're
Adam.
just
Okay,
not.
okay. I see.
The
I
the
see how it
game
is.
the gameplay and the story is just not on those other four games that I just mentioned's level. It's just
You never know. Infinite might do that. Infinite
maybe,
might do it.
but in general, it's not. Starfield. Now that they got Bethesda, there's some good storytelling there, for sure. But it just Microsoft's wheelhouse is first person shooters. It feels like. I mean, they've got a lot of really good and I like first person shooters, but it sounds like I'm trying to throw shade on Microsoft's conference. I'm not.
A little bit.
It was well. I'm just looking like it was an A+, but it still feels like they ton of games, ton of really good games, but I still didn't necessarily see that game that I think is going to be like again, The Last of Us, the Spider-Man on the because again, that's not really their types of games that they make, but excellent showing. I'm glad I got Gamecast. I'm glad I got an Xbox. I'm down. Like I'm not an apologist, but I am down for having my Xbox, and I'm so glad I have it. I'm so glad I got Game Pass, because I'm gonna try Microsoft Flight Simulator. Why not? Why not get in there and fly around? I'm excited to fly to where I lived in Central Asia and try to find my apartment building. I can't wait to fly over the city. Like I'm legit concerned, not concerned, but I might cry because I'm going to get to see it in a way I haven't got to see
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about that. Like I'm excited to get to play the Halo multiplayer for free. Like it looks fun. Don't get me wrong. Like I thought that the Halo, like what they showed us, especially in regards to the multiplayer, looks like a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I could go on and on. Like the Stalker trailer, that looked fun. The Rainbow Six Extraction trailer, like they showed a lot of really fun games. I don't know where I'm at with Starfield. I'm not a big kind of Western RPG fan. Like I've never got into Fallout or even
Mm-hmm.
Outer Worlds, so I'm not as hardcore as a lot of people are with that. But man, some of like the replaced that looked good. I know Mike is excited about that.
I was about
Uh,
to bring up. That's what he tweeted us with. That was his favorite game shown at the Xbox showcase.
yeah, and I'm really excited. Like I've been waiting for them. They had like all the Yakuza games, and I'm like they're gonna bring Yakuza Like a Dragon onto Game Pass at some point, and they did it, and they announced it. It leaked ahead of time, but they announced it in their thing. That I've got it downloaded, and I tried to play it on cloud gaming, and it didn't really work well. But again, there's just so much value there, and so credit to Microsoft. They had a just excellent showcase, and most of the games they showed look really, really, really good. I mean, even that Party Animals, it's like a mixture of Gang Beasts plus maybe Fall Guys. So there's again, I could go on and on and on, but those are some of my initial thoughts, specifically in regards to Microsoft. Like probably them and Nintendo, but I'd probably say just because of Game Pass, it was the biggest standout of
Yeah.
everything. So,
See,
what do you
now I'm
think?
gonna
What were your thoughts about Microsoft?
I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it going here, because there's one game you forgot to mention that was shown at the Xbox conference that got me grinning from ear to ear and just had me so happy to not only see it but know that it's coming this year. And that's my favorite racing game, Forza Horizon 5, dude.
Yeah,
Oh my Lanta. You get to go to volcanoes. You're in Mexico this time, and like there's a wide array, like just it's so diverse.
and I can
And
jump on with you because it's quote unquote free with Game
gonna be on
Pass.
Game
Like,
Pass. Yeah.
why not try it with you?
Yeah, I know. And like I said, that's the thing that I love about Forza, man. The community around it, the game itself. So, dear listeners, if you got Game Pass, which I don't know why you wouldn't at this point if you're on PC or you have an Xbox. When this comes out, we're doing a TRG race crew, whatever. It will be like Fast and Furious. I'll be Dominic Toretto. I'll get my little white tank top running around. I'll be talking all gravelly and stuff, and like living my life a quarter mile at a time. I'll be doing that while we're driving, and we're gonna have a blast because it's gonna be awesome. So, I'm loving what I'm seeing in that game. I'm loving just really what they've done with that game over the last few years is just incredible. I didn't know if I would like the online section where you're racing with other people around, but they've done it to where it's really cool actually, and you get to meet with new players. And I think they changed the multiplayer up a little bit to where they make it easier for you to find people that you race with, so that way if you want to group up with them again, you can do so pretty easily, which is really nice. But man, when I saw that, that was really one of the things I was hoping to see at E3. I was like, please show me Forza Horizon 5. Please, please, please. Don't let 2021 go by without a Forza game. I don't want Motorsport because I don't play it. But if I see it, that's fine because I'll try it anyway because of Game Pass. But when I saw Horizon 5, I was just like, dude, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And it looked great.
That and like Riders Republic and Shredders, like some like of those extreme sports,
Yes,
like they all looked so good. Like again, I would never buy Shredders, and I might buy Riders Republic. I don't know if it got good reviews, but again, the fact that I can just download them and try them out, again, if I had all the time in the world, I would gain 500 pounds and just play video games my whole life, but it's a good thing that I don't.
Yeah. But kind of like what you said, Halo, the multiplayer thing, I was just, it's one of those things where like they kept doing all these moves and stuff. And I'm like, I know I won't be able to pull off half of these because I don't have the reflexes for it anymore. But hot dog, does that look cool. Like at the end when the guy showed up in the samurai armor, which was giving me Halo 3 vibes when you get the Hayabusa armor, throws that plasma grenade, launches the sword in his hand, and he goes at a guy. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Give it to me. And the fact that it's free to play, like you can just download it, that's so smart. So smart. I told my cousin that me and him are big Halo fans, and he was losing it earlier. So we're definitely going to be playing that. And so the campaign, I will say this, because I tried to defend Halo Infinite last year. I was like, it looks fine. In comparison, no, this new one, what we saw at E3 looks way better than what we saw last year. So I'm glad it's looking good. I'm hoping we still get it this year. I'm hoping they don't delay it last minute, because I think it needs to come out. And Luke over on Twitter mentioned something about the 15-minute dive into the multiplayer details that's over on YouTube. I haven't seen that, but Luke, thank you for pointing that out because I'm going to go look that up after this. Now, here's an interesting thing that David wrote in on Twitter, and he says that he thinks Microsoft did an excellent job proving that it now has the chops to go toe-to-toe with Sony in the games department. Adam, what do you think, man? Because I'm going to be honest. If all these games hit as hard as I'm thinking they will, and if Halo does some kind of Halo 3 sequel magic sort of stuff to where it becomes one of the greatest Halo games ever, I think David's onto something here.
Here's what I'll say. Xbox has got games. They did exactly what they needed to do. Xbox has been great. Their marketing has been great over everything. I mean, they were talking about like getting it on TVs with cloud gaming. There's no doubt that Xbox is doing everything they can really right. They've made a ton of great choices, and they did what they had to do. This wasn't a showcase with it was game, and all on Game Pass. It wasn't. They did it right, but again, it's the same caveat I said earlier about Sony. In regards to first party games, Sony is still S tier, and Microsoft is A. And the A is really good. That's what you want, right? You want to have, you want to be A, you want to be A. I mean, you want to be S, but Sony has just continued. They've proven that their first party games are just, they're the best in the biz. And we've seen a lot of really good. Now, Xbox could get there. We'll see when the games come out, like you said. If they hit, if they come out and they are banger after banger after banger, all on Game Pass, then I could be wrong. This could be a very different conversation next year. But until we see them in our hands, because we've seen trailers, but we have still yet to play one of them. What has been the big first party game on Xbox Series X so far? Medium? I mean, what?
Well, I was going to say the medium, but then I just saw a trailer saying that that's coming to PS5.
Yes, I'm just saying, like, and I'm sure we're maybe missing something, but there's not been that big one where it's like, this is the exclusive Xbox game that you've got to play. That's like everybody's talking about it per se. Now they're coming, but so we'll see what happens. But there is no doubt Microsoft has, if anything, they've got the quantity of very good games. Now, do they have the quantity of the best games? That is still to be seen. It's still to be seen.
Time will tell.
And they've got it looks like it could be.
Yeah.
Starfield, again, I don't think Halo can get back there. I just don't.
I do.
But,
I have hope.
Starfield could get there. Deathloop is technically an Xbox game, even though it's going to be on PlayStation.
Right.
I mean, and there's some other ones again that my mind's just kind of slipping me right now. Ages of Empires,
Forza Horizon 5.
Forza Horizons. I mean, they've got the best racing games out there.
You got that right.
So they definitely got a lot of games and a lot of games to be excited about. I'm really not trying to be just Sony pony. Like, I'm really excited about what Microsoft showed. I am really, really excited. But I just keep that one little caveat in regards to the top tier first party games. I still think that is Sony's domain.
Fair enough. We'll see. Like I said, this is going to be an exciting fall. I know that for sure. So
what a time to be a gamer.
I know, what a time to be a gamer.
We're living in. There's not been a better time to be a gamer than right now. If you've got Xbox, PlayStation, PC, Switch, whatever you got, I mean, there's a lot of good ways to play. I mean, even mobile games. There's a lot of good ways to play video games right now.
Speaking of, it's a great time to be a gamer. Adam, dear listeners, shall I gush about Metroid Dread?
Let's do it. Let's talk Nintendo.
I'm chomping at the bit to talk about this game because I'm going to be honest, dear listeners. Y'all knew, because y'all probably saw the tweets. When I was going into this E3, I had zero expectations. I was like, we will not see anything Metroid. I know it because Nintendo, I was like, doesn't care about Metroid. I wrote a thing on it on the website. I knew going into this, we wouldn't see Metroid. Actually, I should change that to I thought we wouldn't because I didn't know for sure. But my thing is, I didn't want to go into this and get hurt. I didn't want to go in with my expectations high, right? And when it first started off, man, that direct was a snooze fest. Oh my gosh. You know, the whole
opening with Smash characters.
Oh my gosh, dude. I know there's people in our community that are hyped about Kazuya coming in from Smash Brothers. And to be honest, I grew up on Tekken a little bit too, so I can respect that. But at the same time, I just didn't care. And so it was a snooze fest, in my opinion. And I was like, dude, we're not going to see anything. I'm going to keep kind of cleaning out my office and just not even pay attention. And then I started getting a string of texts from friend of the show, Jonathan Steele. And it was just a series of like numbers and letters mashed together, exclamation points. And I'm like, great, more Breath of the Wild stuff that I don't care. I mean, I care about Breath of the Wild. Don't hear me wrong. I'm just like, whatever. I don't need to see any more of it. And then he just goes, Logan, Metroid. And I just shove everything to the side, look at the screen. I'm like, what do you mean Metroid? Because I was like a couple minutes behind. And then I see can't remember his name coming on. I know I'm building up the story here and being dramatic, but I'm hyped, guys. Deal with it. And the guy comes on. He's like, we are working very hard on Metroid Prime 4. It is, we're working hard on the development of it. I'm like, oh, cool. Nothing to show. And he's like, yeah, we don't have anything to show. But I'm like, what do you mean, but? What does that mean? What does that mean? It's like, but we are working on the next installment in the Metroid series. I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean? What? Tell me more. And he's like, please take a look at the next entry in the Metroid main series after 19 years. And I'm like, what? And then you see Samus drop in Metroid 5, goes through the whole trailer of she's running from this giant robot thing that's going to like shove a spike into her throat because it's, I guess we're copying Tomb Raider now, but you're going through this base and you're running from this enemy. And then you got like a green robot dog thing that cloaks you. And you got apparently a Chozo is still alive. They're supposed to be dead, but one's alive. I don't know what's going on. You got Samus doing the little counter move thing that she was doing in Samus Returns. And it looks so stinking good. Oh my, I lost it, dude. I was screaming. I had to mute myself in Discord because I was screaming so loud. It's freaking out, flipping stuff over. And I'm just like, Nintendo, you do care about me. Okay, I see how it is. I'll be pre-ordering that sucker as fast as I can. Dear listeners, I'm going to say this right now, by the way. When that game comes out, we will be giving away a copy of the game here on the show, just so you know, because I love Metroid that much. And so I was not expecting this at all. Like I said, I was going into this expecting Nintendo's E3 to be a dud. And then they hit us with that and a few others like Advance Wars 1 and 2 later on. And I'm just like, all right, Nintendo, well played. Well played, man. I know I probably won't be able to get the amiibos or that collector's edition because of scalpers, but I don't care. The fact that we're getting a new Metroid.
I'm on it, baby. I'm on it.
It's good, man.
I'll give you mine for only half the markup that everybody else is doing.
To be honest, man, I probably would do that. Can I get a teacher discount? Do you have that?
Yeah.
The King of
Tax free.
But no, that honestly, out of everything shown at E3, that was my favorite thing shown. Like I said, at some point during this recording, could have been the pre-show. I've watched that trailer so many times now because part of me is still like, I can't believe this is happening. And the other part of me is just so excited because this game takes place after Metroid Fusion. And you can tell when you look at her suit, there's some parts of that blue from that suit that are still in there. And I think her new suit looks amazing. I love it. And the fact that you're getting chased by the robots is just like Fusion with that kind of Samus clone that chased you in that game. And I noticed, because I watched the developer thing here. Sorry, this is the Metroid Hour. I'm just going to keep going here for a little bit longer. But apparently this game, they've had the concept for this game in their back pocket since I think Metroid Fusion, but they couldn't do it because they didn't have the technology to do it then. And then a few years came by and they thought about doing it again, but they still couldn't do it. And now this version that we're getting surpasses their original concept of the game because the team that's working on this is the same one that did the Samus Returns remake a couple years ago. And so I'm just like, that's crazy. And I was even browsing Twitter and someone showed a screenshot of Metroid Prime 3 Corruption where you scan something and it says something like Metroid Experiment Dread is nearing completion. And I'm like, what the heck, dude? So it's like they were hinting at it years and years ago that they were trying to work on it. And now it's finally here. So I'm excited to see what it is, man. I think it looks great. I know people are online are like, oh, it looks like an indie game. Pfft, get out of here. I don't care. It looks great. Love it. But yeah.
It's different, but it looks great in many ways. It's not Prime. And I've never finished a Metroid game. I've played Super Metroid. I've played Prime, the first one. But I've got this one pre-ordered already through the buy two get one free on Target.
Nice.
And so I'm excited to play it for sure.
It's gonna be awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, and I want to go back and I mentioned this a few moments ago, how both Microsoft and Nintendo were both really good, but in different ways. So for Nintendo, they didn't necessarily give us the big hitters that we were kind of hoping for. We were, we were wanting to see more Breath of the Wild, potentially a 2021 release date, Mario Odyssey 2. I mean, we got Metroid, that's great, but Metroid 4, maybe a new Donkey Kong, more on the Zelda 35th anniversary, potentially like a 3-pack like we got with the Super Mario All Stars or 3D All Stars. We didn't get those things, but it was like a love letter to Nintendo fans. We got a lot of things that Nintendo fans just like. One of them was Metroid. I mean, that was definitely, Nintendo fans are hype about that. One of the things that I was really excited about was the Super Mario or the Mario Party Superstars. So the Mario Party Superstars is basically, it was originally a 3DS game, and I'm not sure if it's game for game, but essentially it's like the best 100 games on Mario Party, but they're giving the 5 of the top maps from Mario Party 1 through 3, which if you talk to anybody who likes Mario Party, that's been probably the biggest issue with the most recent games is all of the maps kind of stink. They're super small. They're just lame compared to the older ones. So the great thing about this is we're going to get some of those older, larger maps, and we're getting all the good games from all of the, I don't know, I think it's basically a mixture of all of them to some degree, but they don't require the Joy-Con, so probably not the newer one. Because I like Super Mario Party. The games are fun. I don't mind using the Joy-Con, but the maps were so bad that I'm like, it wasn't worth continuing to play it. And the other thing that this one's got is it's all, you can play online. So it's all the games can be played online, which is really cool. So I'm really excited.
Oh, nice.
Really excited about that. I mean, what we've seen with Breath of the Wild was really good. Super Metroid looks good. Again, WarioWare. I'm not a big WarioWare person, but I know for Nintendo fans, that's a big deal. It was out of left field. No one was expecting that. So that's a really big announcement that came out. The Mario Rabbids was announced at another conference, but that's another really good. I mean, the first game was a lot of fun. Everybody really liked that. But probably, well, let me get to this before I get to the other really big announcement. I think a lot of people were hyped was, I think they showed us a little bit more of Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild. That gameplay looks awesome. And then they gave us, I don't know, I've got the other, they showed us the Zelda Game and Watch. I've got the Mario one. I haven't even opened it. I'm kind of treating it like a collector's item. I don't know if I'm going to get the Zelda one. I might get it also and just kind of put it in a drawer somewhere and see what happens in 20 years. But I'm like, is this going to become a thing? Because we've got a Mario, we've got a Zelda. Are we going to get a Donkey Kong one probably at some point? Seems like it. But probably the other big announcement I think a lot of people were freaking out about was the Advance Wars 1 and 2, what was it, Reboot Camp or something like that. And have you played the other Advance Wars? I've never played them, but I've always heard forever that people love them, but I wasn't into strategy games at that point.
So I played the first one when it came out on the Game Boy Advance because I played that after I just got into Fire Emblem, and so I was just like on a strategy kind of kick, and I liked it. But man, dude, if you thought Fire Emblem was hard, I remember that game being tough as nails. Still enjoyed it, but it's a little bit hard. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what this will how this one will fare if they're going to change the difficulty or not, because I know I watched the trailer for it and said that it was reimagined, and so I'm like, oh, so this is like kind of built from the ground up, a new sort of thing.
I mean, the graphics are going to blow you off your feet, but the art style looks fun. It's got a unique art style to it. So again, the 3 games I got from the buy 2 get 1 free off Target, I got Advance Wars, I got Metroid, and I got the new Mario Party. So I'm excited. I mean, I've gone from, I haven't really played my Switch much. Like I didn't mention what I've been playing, but I played a little bit of Pokemon Snap. Pokemon Snap was good, but it wasn't a game that I was going to put a ton of time into. I tried all the maps.
Mm-hmm.
I went through them a couple times, but again, it's just a different era of gaming for me where that's not going to be something that sinks its teeth in me. So, been enjoying. I enjoyed that for a little bit, but I haven't played a ton on my Switch. But I've now got Skyward Sword pre-ordered, the new Mario Party, Metroid, and Advance Wars already pre-ordered for this year. So I'm like
There you go, man.
my PayPal account has drained, but my Switch is it's ready to go for the rest of this year. On top of what I'll have for other systems, so there's really a lot to be excited for. Again, nothing. Again, these are really good announcements. Like I was saying when I was talking Microsoft and Sony, there were a lot of really A level announcements. Nothing that was like Metroid. You might say is like S tier, and sure, I'll give you that
100%.
one. It is.
Yeah.
It blew a lot of people are really excited about that. But Advance Wars to me is like it's an A. The Mario Party is like an A. WarioWare is like an A. A lot of just really
Wow.
good Nintendo announcements that people are
Wow.
excited about.
WarioWare at an A,
I
really?
mean, again, not necessarily for me, but for Nintendo fans.
Okay.
Like,
I don't know. There's a lot of love for
that's
WarioWare.
what I'm saying. But I don't know if it's S tier.
Oh, okay. No, I'm tracking.
I'm saying
with
these
you
are
now.
there's just a lot of really good announcements. Steady, and again to finish with, again the Game and Watch Zelda was a little whatever, but Breath of the Wild looks great. It looks great.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed for my fantasy team. First of all, that we're not getting it this year, but just as a gamer, again, we want to give them as much time as they need, and it's coming. I mean, what do you think about us not getting anything on the Switch Pro yet? I mean, it seemed like there's some rumors that it was pretty imminent, and we still haven't heard anything. But this game's got to come out with a Switch Pro. I mean, it's the tea leaves are reading that it is. I mean, from all the different people who know stuff, they make it seem like the Switch Pro is a sure thing. But if that's true, I'm excited to play Zelda looking even better, even though you don't play Zelda for its graphics.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with kind of like the different shortages going on with parts. And I know how Nintendo is. They're very stingy in a lot of ways. And that kind of hurts them sometimes, but that also leads to their benefit. I think if they do have something, if they didn't show it, it's clearly not ready. And I'm okay with that. I don't mind waiting because, if Breath of the Wild 2 is going to run on the current Switch as well as a new Switch, I'm fine with that because it looks fantastic. The trailer we got, I don't know what's going on. It looks crazy.
Stuff, like you're like warping through stones and different things.
You're manipulating time and all that. Which, again, friend of the show, Jonathan Steele, shared his theory on what the plot is for this game. And not only does it sound plausible, but man, does it sound flipping nuts if it's true. Because, yeah, anyway, you guys will have to ask him about that. But it's pretty cool. So yeah, it doesn't really disappoint me. I know it's funny, someone, going back to Metroid, someone added us on Twitter and was like, aren't you disappointed that we didn't see Metroid Prime 4? I didn't think I didn't like anything from the Direct because I didn't show it. I'm like, are you kidding me? We got a brand new Metroid that hasn't been a new Metroid in the mainline series after 19 years. And it looks awesome. Yeah. What's not to get excited? Breath of the Wild 2 looks fantastic. WarioWare, give it to me because that's the kind of sense of humor that I have. I like to be a little goofy sometimes, and I'm actually looking forward to WarioWare.
Weird. Like
it does, but that's
in the day,
that's part of it.
On the Wii, maybe once or twice, and it's like goofy fun, but I never got into it. And the trailer you're watching, you're like, how are people super excited about this? But they are.
It's the whole meme thing, man. It's what it is. It's
the whole
meme thing of it. It's a meme in video game format, and it's going to be a blast. And I will play it.
Toothpaste.
You're tweezing a dude's arm hairs out. Why? It's gross. I don't know, but that's hilarious. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So as far as not a Metroid, we got Metroid, and I love it. But as far as the Switch Pro, it didn't really bother me that we didn't see it. I was actually, again, I went in with low expectations. I didn't think we would see it because I just feel like, in a weird way, it's kind of too soon for one. And I think maybe we'll probably see something next year.
Yeah.
And it might be something like what you said, where it's in line with Breath of the Wild 2, and it might be a package kind of thing that they do sometimes. So,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I will say there is one game on here that we haven't mentioned, and that is the Shin Megami Tensei 5 that's coming out in November exclusively on the Nintendo Switch, which kind of surprises me a little bit because they just did that port of, I think, 3, like the HD redo of 3 on PS4, Steam, Xbox, Switch, and all those. I'm a little surprised that this one's a Nintendo exclusive, but it might be.
This is their Persona,
it might just be
right?
a
This is
time
basically
exclusive.
what that is.
So Shin Megami Tensei is what Persona came from. Shin Megami Tensei is the one that's kind of started it all, and Persona was a spin-off of that series, and now Persona is its own thing. Because I think Persona 1 and 2 actually had Shin Megami Tensei in the title, but then it was 3 or 4. No, it was 4. They took the Shin Megami Tensei out. I'm going to be completely honest. Y'all know I'm a big Persona fan. Love Persona. I don't think I'm going to play this thing just because of how they frame the gameplay of how you're like recruiting demons into your party. And I'm like, I don't like that kind of language. I don't like that as a gameplay mechanic, you know. Persona I can handle because you're recruiting them as like they're different forms of your personality. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. But this, I just, not for me. Yeah. I'll say that much. But I know there's a lot of people online that are pretty hyped about it. But I don't know. Or did that interest you at all? I don't know if you saw it or not.
Not really. I mean, I've only got room for one major JRPG in my life, and Persona has that, and then some Final Fantasy VII at this point. But
fair.
Side note: have you played Intergrade?
I have. It's fun.
Anyways,
Yuffie's got some great skills, man.
Anyways, side note: I haven't played it. I haven't talked to anyone about it. But okay. Well, Logan, let's finish with this. Let's talk. We've had a good conversation thus far. What are some other moments or games that between Square Enix, Ubisoft, Jeff Keighley's thing, what are some other things that you want to throw a shout out as things that caught your eye throughout E3?
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Elden Ring. Holy cow, dude. That trailer was all kinds of hype from start to finish. I don't know. So here's the thing, because it blew my mind because it looks like it's going to be open world. You get your horse, you ride around. I'm like, okay, was not expecting that. That's really cool. And then I noticed something, that there's a section in the trailer where the guy jumps off his horse and jumps into a group of enemies and starts fighting. And I'm like, that's different from what I know of Dark Souls games. Like in Dark Souls games, you typically kind of do 1-on-1, maybe 2-on-1. You don't jump into a group of enemies. That's the quickest way to get yourself killed and you lose all your stuff. And so it seems like this game might be leaning more in the direction of Sekiro, where it's fast, frenetic. You might get into a group of enemies and you got to handle them all, or you kind of have to juggle the enemies and be smart about it. And that has me excited because it seems like the combat's going to be more intense. And then you just see the different boss fights, and I'm like, because there's a point in the trailer where it just clips to different boss fights one after the other, and I'm just like, this game looks intense, and I cannot wait to play it. I'm excited for it, man. It looks great. Dear listener, if you haven't seen it yet, even if you're not a Dark Souls fan, go watch the trailer, because the trailer was incredible. Really well done.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great way to end Summer Game Fest, actually. That was a big surprise.
I don't want to poo-poo on any Souls-type fans, and like Elden Ring looks, sure, I can see why y'all are excited. I'm just personally, this is me personally, this is I'm speaking. Like I said when I was talking about Returnal, after trying Demon Souls on PS5, I'm just like, this isn't for me. They're not for me, and that's okay.
Fair enough. That's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
I don't want that. I want Returnal punishment, not Sekiro punishment, Dark Souls punishment. And so
gotcha.
I'm glad you're excited, but I'm like, I hate not being able to be excited for a game that everyone is excited about, but they're just not for me, so I have to be okay with it. But I'm glad that y'all got that. I mean, a ton of people are really excited about that.
That's good, dude. I can't wait.
Yeah,
what about you?
A couple things that I would probably bring up. One game, that I think is going to be interesting is the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it looked
Really?
all well. Hear me out. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm like hyped
Okay.
for it.
Sorry, I jumped the
Um,
gun. Go ahead.
I'm eager to see just how it plays out. I watched the trailer. There's some things about it that look fun, look interesting, but because of Avengers, it's hard to trust exactly what we're going to get in Guardians of the Galaxy. Once I started seeing some of the, again, I'm not against leveling up, but Avengers leveling up drove me insane. So I think that's a game, just a game to watch and really see, kind of see what happens and what comes next. So that was something a game that I was kind of like, And then something that actually came out today that I'm pretty hyped about, and I know you're going to talk about it later, but the Microsoft, what is it? The labs where you can create your, my mind's blanking on the
Oh, the
design
design
labs for the
lab.
controller. Again, I know it's this kind of post E3, but that's awesome. I'm glad I wish I wouldn't have bought a second controller, but that's how it always goes. You're like, I
Same.
need another controller because I got this new system, and you get one because you need it, but you're not satisfied with the color options, and they know what
Mm-hmm.
they're doing. There's a reason they don't launch with
Yep.
these, because now it's like I'm not going to buy one. That's the hardest thing, is I'm too cheap to do it. But I love that they do that, and all the options they gave for today. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it seemed like their showcase that they did today or whatever. I don't think they called it a showcase, but seemed like a little bit deeper dive with some things like Psychonauts, which I just don't get that
Mm-hmm.
game. I've never played them.
I don't either. I know there's people in the community that play it and are excited for it, but
I
that's
really
just
hope
beyond
it
me.
stinks because I counterpicked it in our fantasy critic.
Oh
So
no.
I'm like kind of
You just hope it's bad so it doesn't
I'm
affect you in
actively
your
rooting
fantasy
against
draft.
it. I'm like, I hope this game stinks. But I don't know. I mean, Double Fine's a great creator. Like, so they had that. They had Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade 2 or whatever. So, um, yeah, those are a couple other things. I'm trying to think. There's nothing necessarily from Ubisoft that necessarily jumped out at me. I'm trying to remember some of the things that they even talked about.
I'll bring this one up. What do you think of the new Mario Rabbids
Yeah.
game?
I'm excited about it. I mean, it's a game I definitely will pick up and play. I really enjoyed the first one, which I think took everybody by surprise that game was actually good, like really good. So had great humor. So I'm really excited about that. That was definitely probably one of the highlights of Ubisoft's UB4 whatever. I'm trying to think. We didn't get him.
Yeah, I
We
just
didn't.
know. Sorry to just jump in there. That was when I about tuned in, and me and my wife were watching, and it got hurt because Mario Rabbids is one of the few games she's actually played through to completion. And so when she saw another one was coming out, she was like, "You better pick this up because I'm going to play it." I'm like, "Got you. I got you, babe. That's what I do."
So
But I still haven't played it, so I need to
So yeah,
do
the
that
definite most of the definite highlights were through Microsoft and Nintendo, but definitely a couple other things just to keep our attention and to be keeping our eyes on. So
for sure. Like we said, man, it's a great time to be a gamer. My Lanta, dude. I was not expecting I was not expecting a lot of stuff that we saw at E3 this year, but I'm glad we did. I'm glad we saw Metroid. I'm glad we saw the games we did. And that being said, dear patrons, y'all need to let us know if there's any games that we missed. If there's any games that you want to talk about or anything like that, because we'd love to talk about those games with you. And hit us up on the different social media outlets. Adam, I don't know if there's anything you want to add
no,
to
I think
that.
that's good. Again, we missed a lot of games. We didn't want to just sit there and go through every game, but those
Right.
were mainly again just some highlights and some talking points. But definitely a lot to be excited about and to talk about.
For sure. For sure. It's gonna be a good time, man. It's a good time. Well, dear patrons, dear listeners, all y'all that are listening to the show, maybe you're not part of the Deer community yet. Hit subscribe on that podcast button so you listen to so you can listen to our show anytime that we drop a new episode, YouTube, all that stuff. I'm getting ahead of myself. Dear listeners, thank you. for joining us for this episode of the Reformed Gamers. Like I've said a few times now, if there's a game that you were just super excited to see get announced or to see gameplay of, maybe Far Cry 6, maybe what's that vampire game? Was it Redfall?
I didn't even think. I'm going to bring this, like Mario Golf. They gave us more of a deep dive into that.
Oh,
that
yeah,
looks
they did.
Amazing.
They did.
It looks so good.
I will say this too. I do have that one pre-ordered. So if anyone else is getting it, let's tee off when it comes out, because we need to play it. It's going to be a good time. Dibs on King Bob-omb though, because I want that crown. I want that mustache. Very classy. No one else can pick King Bob-omb. If you do, I don't know, I'll pick Yoshi or something. I won't really raise a fuss over it because I just don't care. But yeah, no, it'll be fun. Looks good. Like it. Anyway, dear listeners, thank you for listening to this episode. This is probably our first and maybe only episode of the month, just because the way schedules worked out, things were crazy.
With us, life's crazy.
Life's crazy. Again, thank you all for your patience. Again, if you're not part of the community and Discord, Facebook group, Twitter, all that stuff, just get plugged in there. You guys, that's where a lot of us hang out. So, it's a great way to connect with us, even when we're not putting out a new episode of the podcast. So, that being said, we couldn't do what we do without all of you supporting us over on Patreon, patreon.com/thereformedgamers. If you subscribe to us, support as low as $1 a month gets you early, uncut access to all of our episodes. And I can tell you, those of you that are listening in public feeds, there have been plenty of goofs this episode, and you never heard any of them because of the editing prowess of our dear editor, David Skinner. And so if you want to hear the goofs and maybe some of the pre-show where we talk about all sorts of random things, head over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers. Consider lending support. Like I said, $1 a month, early uncut access. You go up in the different tiers, you get behind the scenes stuff where we talk about the more business side, how the YouTube channel's doing, how the website's doing, all that stuff, planning for the future. And then as you go up in ranks, you get different perks and things like that. So that's at patreon.com/reformgamers. And these folks, these lovely, lovely folks over here support us, and we want to shout them out and thank them for their support.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
I believe the list is updated. If I forget your name and you cancel your pledge, you know what? I don't blame you. I would too. That's unacceptable. But hey, anyway, those folks are. Adam, how did we do this last time? Did you read the people in red and I read blue?
You start us off. I'll jump in.
Fair enough. Those people are Alex Castellanos, Andre Swan, Ashley Cronenbitter, Christopher Commander, Chris Freeman. You're a new one. Thank you for your support. Daryl Tavares,
David Henderson, David Matthews, Derek Smith, Isaac Stoltz,
Jake Walker, James Barker, Jeff Jackson Jr., Jimmy Changa. That's a cool name. Joanne Monroe.
Josh Broccolo, Kokorodaki, Mark Fromm, Matt Edwards, Matthew White Chocolate McDougal,
Matt Millsap, Melvin Benson V, Micah Hendrick, Michael Toller, Mr. Butts,
Nate McKeever, Peter Piper, Retro Rewind Podcast, Ryan1701E, Sam Whites,
Samuel Kalunga, Savon Pena. You're a new one as well. Thank you for your support. Third Strongest Mole, Travis, Weatherman Keefe, Wesley Ray, Xavier Medina, which, by the way, Xavier,
holla, holla, holla.
Dude, congrats on your marriage. Enjoy y'all's honeymoon. That's awesome stuff, dude.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love seeing some of the pictures from y'all's wedding over on Facebook, man. Enjoy. Welcome to married life. I don't have any advice to give you other than if wifey wants time with you and you got to put the game down, do it, man.
The sticks down.
Just put the sticks down. They'll be there tomorrow. But I can tell you this, if you try to pick up those sticks when she wants to spend time with you, they may not be there tomorrow. So choose wisely. Anyway, dear listeners, again, thank you for your support. We can't let you go just yet. We got to give some Reco, some things for you to check out this week or at your leisure. Adam, what's something the dear listeners should check out?
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
Yeah, so Cruella is on Disney Plus.
I've heard
theaters. Of that. It is an excellent movie.
Really?
We've watched it twice already. We
okay.
watched it by ourselves. Then we watched it with our in-laws the other night. It is an excellent movie. It is well worth your time. Great soundtrack. Just a lot of, it's just a really, really well-made movie. So definitely check that out. It'll be a lot of the callbacks to the original 101 Dalmatians, of course. So it'll be interesting what they do or how they do the next one, but Yeah, really enjoyed it. So check it out if you got any interest in
Fair
it.
enough. Now, when you say it's on Disney Plus, is it like there for?
It's the access or whatever. You got to pay like $30
Gotcha.
for it or
Okay. I
whatever.
wasn't aware if it was on that or not yet. Okay. Well, now I know.
Yeah.
Now I know. Well, dear listeners, I too have something for you to watch, and that is the Metroid Dread trailer. If for some reason you have not watched it by now, literally it's a 2.5 minute trailer. After you watch that, go watch the developer diary thing that they put out on it. I'll link both of them to your in your show notes there. Awesome. Again, I'm a little biased because I love Metroid, but it looks good. It's well worth your time to check it out. And plus, if it captures any of the creepy atmosphere of Metroid Fusion, oh boy, this game's going to be good. The other thing I want you to check out is I posted this on our Twitter. I posted this in the Facebook group and in the Discord server because Adam brought up the Xbox Design Lab. I had my wife design a controller that is TRG themed. So if you're looking into getting a new controller and you want to rep TRG colors, go check out the Twitter post, the Facebook post in the group, in the pictures in the Discord server. I put the breakdown of what colors are on what buttons, so that way you can customize it. You can even change the colors around or even get it engraved and say proud dear listener at the bottom if you want to. Or you could even put words or heart at the bottom. That would be funny. Maybe that's what I'll do with my controller. But that'll be on there. I'll have a link to the Twitter post in your show notes, so that way you can go to it and check it out for yourself. And like I said, it just gives you a good template to kind of mess around with the colors. Maybe you want to have like white sticks or red sticks or something. I don't know. Play around with it and see what you can do. But it's pretty cool. I'm glad they brought it back. I've got that design template thing saved. So as soon as I get some money saved up for it, or if one of my controllers goes out, then I will be getting one as well. And then I will be repping some TRG stuff. But speaking of repping TRG stuff, maybe you don't want a controller. Maybe you're in need of a t-shirt, a hat, maybe a mug to keep you warm in the mornings. Not that the mug itself will keep you warm, but the coffee you put in there will. You can head over to our merch store and get some TRG merch, so that way you can rep your favorite podcast that combines theology and gaming. You can enjoy that stuff there. I've already talked about Patreon. You can support us over there as well. But as always, interact with us. We'd love to hang out with you. You can do so on Twitch now, because I'm back on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheTheoLogan. You can go over to our website to get more resources and articles and things of that nature, or at thereformedgamers.com. But if you're on Twitter, follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast. If you're on Facebook, join the Facebook group, like the Facebook page. If you're on Instagram, follow us at The Reformed Gamers. If you are on Discord, which I think most people are now, join the Discord server. Links to everything will be in your show notes, and we would love to connect with you there. But with that being said, dear listeners, thank you for checking out this episode of The Reformed Gamers. Be a dear, keep it locked here, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Reformed Gamers, the podcast all about theology and gaming. TRG is edited by Dear Ear Productions, so thank them for the buttery smooth tones in your ear. If you're looking for extra content, head on over to youtube.com/TheReformedGamers. The Reformed Gamers is entirely fan-supported over on patreon.com/TheReformedGamers by our dear patrons. The following deer are at the producer level or higher and will forever be thanked at the end of each show, as long as their pledge comes through, or we forget to update the audio. Those people are Mr. Butts, Caleb, Alex Castellanos, Pastor Shay, and Wesley Ray. Thank you for your support on patreon.com, keeping our controllers charged, and supporting Logan in his never-ending quest to collect them all. Platinum trophies, that is. So be a dear and keep it locked here. Keep listening. We'll catch you later.